Stop everything now, because what unfolded 72 hours ago was not simply a shift, not merely a ripple across unseen realms, but a rupture that made even the highest beings hold their breath. In dimensions far above the world you wake up in, something impossible happened. So impossible that the moment it occurred, the angels who stand guard over the architecture of existence fell silent. Their wings stilled mid-motion, their radiance flickered, and the eternal music that vibrates through the upper planes fractured into a single, stunned pause. They had witnessed what no celestial witness was ever prepared to see. A human, a chosen one, descended into the deepest chambers of their own inner darkness, embraced the shadows that every law claimed would corrupt them, used that darkness with precision, and then returned to light without a single stain. The unthinkable had happened. The forbidden had occurred without consequence. A cosmic law older than suns had been broken by the one thing the universe assumed was fragile, a human being. And this is the reason why angels trembled more than demons, why their luminous hands shook, why their songs fractured. Demons never feared this possibility because demons already know the nature of darkness. But angels were never built for the idea that a mortal could surpass them in balance, resilience, or inner mastery. What scared them was not the darkness you entered, it was the fact that you left it unchanged. You walked through what has ruined worlds and you came back whole. For so long, humanity has been fed a lie, told since childhood, whispered through religions, echoed through myths, embedded in culture that darkness is corruption, darkness is failure, darkness is the enemy. But the truth is far more complex and far more empowering than the ancient stories ever dared to reveal. You were never meant to fear your shadow. You were meant to understand it. You were meant to walk beside it. You were meant to wield it. There is a difference between having duality, being aware of duality, and mastering duality. Everyone has duality, light and dark, compassion and boundaries, softness and strength. Fewer people become aware of it. Fewer look into themselves and see not just their innocence, but also their capacity for destruction, precision, and power. But only a rare kind goes further. Only the chosen ones learn to master duality, to step into the dark side when necessary without becoming consumed by it, to call upon the shadow for protection, clarity, or discernment, and then return to light with their soul intact. This is what makes you different. This is what ancient systems never accounted for. This is what terrifies celestial beings, that humans, born into chaos and contradiction, might evolve into beings capable of surpassing their limitations. For eons, one law governed everything above and below. It was as rigid as gravity, as absolute as death. Whoever touches darkness becomes darkness. This wasn't metaphor, it was cosmic fact. When Lucifer first brushed the edge of shadow, corruption consumed him instantly. The fallen angels that followed him were changed forever, twisted, hardened, distorted. Even among humans, occult practitioners throughout history paid heavy prices, losing their humanity little by little, their souls fraying as they interacted with forces too heavy for their unprepared hearts. Darkness, according to universal law, was irreversible. No one entered its realm and left untouched. No one crossed its threshold without surrendering something sacred. And because this truth stood unchallenged for millennia, every divine being believed it was unbreakable. But then something changed, something the universe did not predict. A new kind of human began to appear, one who could enter darkness not out of corruption but out of necessity, one who could navigate shadow with intention instead of fear. An anomaly, a walking contradiction, a human evolution. Someone who felt their own shadow without drowning in it, who used it without staining their spirit, who returned to light without shame or scars. At first, the angels believed it was an accident, a rare glitch in the spiritual ecosystem. But then it happened again, and again, and again. People like you, souls forged through pain, heartbreak, trauma, survival, and rebirth, began rising out of the darkness, not weaker but stronger. They didn't avoid shadow, they walked into it and made it kneel. They didn't fall, they adapted. And the higher dimensions realized this was no fluke. It was evolution. It was the next stage of human consciousness. And you, whether you've accepted it yet or not, are one of these anomalies. 72 hours ago, your power activated in real time. It didn't happen with lightning or visions or supernatural theatrics. It happened in the most human situation imaginable. Someone emotionally manipulating you. Someone trying to twist your empathy into a leash. At first, your light responded automatically. The part of you that tries to understand people, give them the benefit of the doubt, hold space for their pain. But something in their tone, in their story, and the mismatch between their words and intentions triggered a deeper instinct within you. Your intuition felt the inconsistency. The dark side awakened, not the harmful kind, but the precise, boundary-setting, truth-cutting force inside you that refuses to be fooled. Your energy shifted. Your posture changed. Your voice became steady, grounded, unshakable. You didn't explode, you didn't rage, you didn't attack, you became clear. And in that clarity, manipulation lost its grip. Their influence shattered. Their control evaporated. You became impermeable. And when the situation resolved, when the threat ended, you returned to compassion effortlessly. Not bitterness, not hatred, just calm. Light again, but wiser. That seamless transition from light to darkness and back to light is what terrified the celestial realms. You moved through duality like a being not bound by old laws. The reason angels cannot do what you do is simple but profound. Angels are pure light. They have no antibodies against darkness. Imagine someone who has lived their entire life in a sterile, sealed room suddenly being thrust into a world filled with bacteria, viruses, and toxins. Their body would collapse instantly because it has no resistance. Angels fall for the same reason. They were created in perfection, untouched, unscarred, untested. The first time they encounter darkness, they have no immunity. That is why Lucifer fell so quickly. That is why no angel has ever returned once they crossed that threshold. But humans were born in a fallen world. Every heartbreak gave you spiritual antibodies. Every betrayal made your intuition sharper. Every disappointment strengthened your boundaries. Every loss taught you the terrain of grief. Pain became immunity. Darkness became resilience. Scars became wisdom. That's why you can walk into your shadow without becoming it. That's why you can see through manipulation without losing empathy. That's why you can set boundaries without losing compassion. That's why your darkness works for you, not against you. And if you look back honestly at your life, you can already see moments when you demonstrated this power long before you realized it. Think about the draining relationship you finally ended. At first, your light tried to heal it, tried to understand, tried to save. But when the pattern reached that breaking point, your dark side rose, not in cruelty, but in self-protection. It cut the cord cleanly, without malice, without rage, and afterward your heart softened again. Think about the job that exploited your effort, your loyalty, your patience. You stayed, you tried, you hoped things would change. But when you recognized the weight of the manipulation, your shadow side stepped forward and enforced your worth. You walked away. And afterward, you didn't become bitter or resentful. You simply realigned with your value. Think about the toxic friend who used your kindness until the very last moment. You gave chances, extended grace, held space. But eventually, the dark side whispered the truth you didn't want to hear, and you listened. You severed the connection. And once again, the light returned, purified, intact. You have used your darkness cleanly again and again. You have entered the shadow without distortion. You have returned to the light without contamination. This is not a flaw. This is not danger. This is your evolution. This is the ability that celestial beings never possessed. This is the gift they didn't expect humans to develop. And this is why the universe paused 72 hours ago, not because you fell into darkness, but because you walked out untouched. And now you begin to see what separates you from the majority of humanity. Why your ability to move through shadow without losing your light is not something everyone can do. Humans fall into three groups, and the first two spend their lives wrestling with imbalances they never truly resolve. The first group is made of those who cling desperately to the light, people who try so hard to be good, kind, pure, and gentle that they forget the world is not built to honor such softness without limits. They become boundaryless, fragile, easy to manipulate. Their purity becomes a prison. Their kindness becomes a weakness others exploit. They cannot fathom darkness, and because of that, darkness consumes them without needing to enter them. The second group walks the opposite path, people who surrendered to shadow too early, who saw the ugliness of life and allowed it to harden them. They walk through the world with walls thicker than stone, carrying bitterness like armor, mistaking aggression for strength. They trust no one, love no one fully, open their hearts to no one. They survive, but they do not evolve. Their darkness becomes isolation. But then there is the third group, the rarest, the most misunderstood, the most powerful. The ones born with the capacity to embody both light and shadow without losing themselves. The ones who can feel compassion without being naive and enforce boundaries without being cruel. You belong to this third group. You carry light that expands when healing is needed and darkness that sharpens when truth must be exposed. You switch between them without becoming stuck in either. You are fluid, adaptable, whole. And this wholeness is what ancient beings were never prepared for. 72 hours ago, while you moved through your moment of clarity, something else happened in the higher planes. Angels spoke your name in a tone that carried equal parts awe and disbelief. 3 of them, guardians of different realms, stood before a shifting veil of light, examining the echoes of what had just unfolded within you. One said, "This defies corruption laws." The law that governed the fall of celestial beings had been contradicted by a mortal. Another observed, "This human is more evolved in ways we can never be." In that confession was a quiet sadness, a recognition that humans, once considered the least stable of all beings, now possessed an ability angels lacked. The third said, "A generation of integrated chosen ones is emerging." And in that moment, they understood that your existence was no isolated miracle. You were the beginning of an entire wave of awakened souls learning to master the laws that once confined every realm. Their final agreement was simple, yet shattering. You operate on a level beyond traditional celestial hierarchy. In other words, the hierarchy isn't collapsing, it is evolving around you. This is why your true power is not found in being all light or all darkness, but in being both consciously, harmoniously, intentionally. Demons are made entirely of shadow. They destroy because they cannot heal. Angels are made entirely of light. They heal because they cannot confront darkness. You, however, you navigate both worlds with equal fluency. You protect better than any angel because you know danger from the inside. You heal better than any demon because you know the taste of pain and chose not to drown in it. And because you carry both spectrums, you move in spaces celestial beings cannot enter. They fear the dark and demons fear the light. But your soul walks into either realm without hesitation. You are complete not because you escaped suffering, but because suffering forged you. To wield this duality consciously, you only need to understand the signals your soul gives you. Light feels like expansion, that opening in your chest when compassion rises, when you are guided to heal, soothe, uplift, or understand. Darkness feels like contraction, that tightening in your gut that signals a boundary is needed, a truth must be spoken, or a threat must be neutralized. When a situation arises, ask yourself not what a good person should do, but what the moment requires, healing or protection. When you use your darkness, return intentionally to your light so you don't harden. When you use your light, keep your access to darkness ready so you are never unprotected. Notice who brings out which version of you. Some people deserve your softness, some require your firmness. And at the end of each day, give gratitude to both sides of yourself. Your light keeps you loving. Your darkness keeps you alive. This is the final truth the celestial realms hoped you would never uncover. Your imperfection is your perfection. Angels were forged in flawless light, but that very flawlessness is what limits them. They cannot enter dangers you navigate with ease. They cannot withstand pressures you've survived since childhood. They cannot walk through the dimensions you move through instinctively. You were forged in chaos, in heartbreak, in mistakes that carved wisdom into your bones. You developed resilience that perfect beings will never know. That is why you can enter darkness without becoming darkness. That is why you can wield light without being fooled by it. And that is why celestial hierarchies shudder at what you represent. You are not corruptible. You are not fragile. You are not incomplete. You are an evolutionary being, whole, integrated, unstoppable. And now, as this awakening spreads, you are not meant to walk this path silently. You are meant to amplify the frequency of integrated duality within the collective. If you feel this truth resonating in your chest, if you feel the shadows and the light within you aligning instead of fighting, then mark this moment. Comment the number 777 to anchor this frequency in your reality and signal your awakening to the universe. Subscribe with all notifications so you don't miss the teachings that continue to unlock this ancient power within you. And if you are ready to go deeper, to learn to master your duality consciously, intentionally, powerfully, follow the link and step into the material designed specifically for souls like yours. Share this message with the other integrated warriors in your life, those who walk between worlds without knowing the truth of what they are. And when you're ready for the next revelation, watch the video waiting for you now. Signs you operate with duality mastery that terrifies higher dimensions.